Welcome. I'm Sarah Swenson. I'm a licensed mental health counselor in Seattle, Washington. I've been working with neurodiverse couples in private practice for many years. It gives me great pleasure to bring this information to you in the course entitled Challenges to Love and Intimacy. It's based on my clinical work with couples like you in the United States and around the world. This course is equivalent to what you might glean from many hours of one-on-one sessions. It's presented here in a concentrated form, and there's a great deal of content for you to go through. Even so, it represents just a fraction of the material I'd like to be able to share with you, and you'll find more in the other courses I've developed. I'll be adding courses regularly as well. Remember as you go through the course that everything here will not apply to everyone. If your experience is different, that's because, as we say, if you've met one autistic person, you've met one autistic person. The same could be said about neurotypical individuals. We're all unique, and our relationships are unique as well. However, there are some aspects to neurodiversity that come up frequently in my practice, and these are the things I've included here. It's my hope that you and your partner will be able to use this information in constructive ways to improve your communication and strengthen the bonds of love and intimacy you share, particularly if they seem frayed at the moment. I'll be your guide as we go through the material. We're going to explore specific challenges to love and intimacy within the neurodiverse relationship. Some of what you hear will feel very familiar to you, and if that's the case, maybe the supporting information I'm presenting here can help you make sense of things that have been baffling to you or painful, or both. My goal is to present both sides of the neurodiverse relationship so that you can understand your experience and that of your partner in a new way, and so that you have new tools available in order to discuss both perspectives in a meaningful and productive way together. You may be feeling as if no one could possibly understand what it's like inside your marriage or your relationship to be with a partner who's autistic. But I assure you there are many women who would not only understand you, but would be happy to embrace you and offer you a shoulder. Bear this in mind. You're not alone. It may seem as if the whole world is now talking about autism and neurodiversity. You see the words frequently in the media, and there are TV shows about autism. But sometimes, in spite of this new prevalence, it can still feel as if all of this doesn't help, as if all of the water is salt water when you're thirsty. It looks as if it might help, but it doesn't. For one thing, as you know, it's a balancing act to talk about an autistic partner without sounding as if you're criticizing him when you're just trying to talk about how you feel or about something that doesn't make sense to you. You've probably learned there aren't many others who truly understand what you're talking about. You may have begun keeping your struggles to yourself quite some time ago. You love him. You don't want to speak poorly of him. You might feel guilty at times. You want the best for him and you certainly don't want to hurt him, but you're struggling. Let's see if I can offer you some support that helps you understand what you're experiencing, not only with regard to your partner's behavior and way of being, but also with regard to yourself and your own needs and your responses to him. Remember, everything I say here won't apply to everyone. Remember also, as I said a moment ago, that while each couple's story is unique, there are some aspects of neurodiversity that apply to all couples and some that apply to most. Feel confident, therefore, that as we go through this course and you hear something that just doesn't fit with your experience, you're encouraged to disregard it, knowing that it might be in alignment with another woman's experience. This is a large umbrella, and I encourage you to think about it this way, even though you may feel alone in the world inside your own relationship. If you've had unsuccessful experience working with a couple therapist, please remember that even the most highly skilled and experienced therapists are often not tuned into the nuances of identifying neurodiversity in couples. They can inadvertently miss cues and rely on therapeutic methods that are very effective and helpful to neurotypical couples. These methods rely on self-reflection and emotional insight, and for an autistic person, these are great challenges that may present impossible expectations. They certainly can cause problems in session because, for one thing, there's a processing speed difference between the way a neurotypical person processes information and the way an autistic person processes the same information. He can be misread as being reticent to speak his mind, or worse, as being defiant or choosing not to participate in the session, when in reality, he's just trying to gather his thoughts. Another common problem arises when the autistic person inadvertently presents himself as a victim, and the neurotypical partner is generally more verbal, articulates her pain and concerns, and accuses him of refusing to listen to her. The therapist can easily misconstrue such a couple and lead their work together in directions that aren't helpful to them and that are frustrating and possibly harmful. In your own work with a therapist, the same kind of assumptions could be made by a therapist who's unaware that your partner is autistic or who doesn't fully understand the implications, particularly as they affect the emotional and psychological health of the neurotypical partner. This is often the very challenging position of feeling abused while knowing that your partner doesn't intend to abuse you. Aside from all the work you're doing to understand your relationship and your autistic partner, I encourage you also to explore your own needs and psychology in detail so that you can understand and take care of yourself, as well as see ways in which you can communicate these things to your autistic partner. That maybe in your reading you've come upon the term Cassandra syndrome in reference to being a woman whose partner is autistic. As you might remember, Cassandra of Greek mythology was punished by a god for refusing him and was thereafter cursed with telling the truth but not being believed. Many women whose partners are autistic feel as if they're not believed when they describe their relationship from their point of view, which includes a feeling that there's no emotional reciprocity from their partner and that her concerns are not valid. Her reality is denied at the expense of her mental health. If your partner can be helped to understand how autism interferes with your feeling loved and heard, and if you can both come to see this without blame, there's room for growth. You can't do this on your own, though. It takes both of you. And that's the reason we're going through this course, so that you can understand what you're experiencing in your relationship, help your partner understand, and find ways to move forward together. Remember that autism is due to differences in the structure of the brain when compared to brains of non autistic individuals. We'll go into these differences in more detail throughout the course and in some of the other courses as well. First and foremost, remember this: autism is not mental illness. It's not a choice, and it's not something that can be overcome or outgrown. It can be better understood, though, and of course, that's part of our goal here. When we discuss autism, again, it's important to bear in mind that if you've met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism. Just as no two neurodiverse relationships are the same, each person is unique, and being autistic is not a standalone characteristic. Many qualities combine to make someone the person he is. This is true for everyone, including those who are autistic. But there are certain qualities of being autistic that will guide the way all other aspects are expressed. We're going to look at how being autistic differs from being what we call neurotypical. And again, I want to stress that these differences are not choices. As I've said, though, it's equally important for you to understand your own side of the equation, the neurotypical side. Because we live in a neurotypical world designed by and for us, it's easy to overlook and take for granted its characteristics. Something to remember is that as difficult as it is for you to understand your partner's autistic ways, it's equally difficult for him to understand yours. Bringing these differences to consciousness is the first step toward increasing the chances for effective communication. Looking at the world from both sides and exploring the differences and seeing how these differences can impede feelings of intimacy if they're not addressed is the first goal of this course. The second, of course, is to help you identify changes that you can make to improve communication, engendering the feeling of knowing your partner and being known by him, which will allow you to create new bridges of intimacy between you. We'll be talking about your communication and your life together, including your sex life. Challenges to love and intimacy, once identified and understood, can be remedied. My overall goal with this course is to provide you support and material so that you can move forward with your partner into a more gratifying way of relating to each other, one that is more gratifying for both of you.